Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and I'm so happy today because we have no virtual backgrounds, but it's Julia, and Julia is one of my favorites because Julia is just awesome. Julia, do you think we're all psychic still?
We are all psychic. Means of the soul. Everybody's got a soul. You're psychic.
Everybody's got a soul.
Yep.
I can think of somebody who might not have a soul.
No, if you're breathing,
everybody has a soul.
That's what animates the body.
It is what animates the body, I guess. Like, well, if you're a zombie, what animates the body? And I mean, zombie, I've never seen a zombie. I've seen some people really drunk before that look like zombies.
Yeah, well, that's a whole talk on transmediumship right there. I've got some interesting stories about that in terms of somebody might call it possession or something, but I was just thinking about that. This was kind of fun. I was thinking about this the other day. I play music, right? Also, yeah. And I was playing up at Behringer Winery, playing with the steel drum band, and we had a steady gig all summer, several times a month. And I'm watching people get drunk as they do. There's one woman, she's dressed very nice and got the high heels on and drinking. And at some point, I'm watching clairvoyantly, and like the owner of the body left, right? After a couple of drinks, the owner of that body left, and then Bob or somebody came in, a spirit being without a body that still loves wine, but doesn't have a body, died.
And the wine drinks itself.
Let's call him Bob. And so Bob comes in.
Bob wrote the blue book, didn't he?
And then Bob wants to keep drinking. So now the body that belonged to that lady, who should be saturated by this time, Bob kept going. And I'm just watching it, and I'm playing, I'm playing drums, percussion stuff. And I just let her be. I'm like, wow, this is kind of interesting reading. But then she started coming over to our tent and started hitting on it and beating on the tent. And I'm like, no, not. She started getting like dangerous.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I got to pull that being out of her. And she's going to hurt herself or somebody else. So, we have techniques for all this. So ground the space, ground myself, set up my own energy, blah, 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 pull the being out. And it was like, as soon as I pulled the being out, it was like an off switch. She fell to the ground. Now, luckily, when you've got that much booze in you, you kind of bounce. But she stopped drinking. And somebody recognized her, a neighbor or something, was able to come over and help her and sit her in a chair for a while. And she's just really all the way slumped over because the owner of that body, the lady, couldn't withstand that much alcohol. But when Bob came in, Bob could take it all day because Bob doesn't ever get saturated.
That's what Bob did when he was alive.
Yeah. So the life of a clairvoyant, little
it is very interesting though. And listeners and watchers, this is a video on Spotify. We have a topic for this, but this is kind of an interesting topic. We could have you back next week, Julia, and do both of them. But we were talking about this before the podcast, how when people are intoxicated, especially with alcohol, the spirits bring out the spirits. And I talked about that with a lot of people, because I know a lot of people who drink very heavily. And they do. I don't see them like you see them leaving. I can feel it though. I look them in the eyes and they're not there anymore. And someone else is in there. I always call it lizard eyes. Like there's not the person I know is not in there. It's just there's something behind it hiding itself with these drunk eyes and is doing weird stuff. And it's very drunk. It feels like an it, doesn't it? Kind of, Bob.
Yeah, it's a whole
like
other person.
Soul thirsty, a thirsty soul.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything scary like Bob, the drunk at the Behringer Winery. Bob's just a guy who just used to love wine. He had a good life.
He had an opportunity.
He died. He's in spirit now, and he's not really moving on too far yet because he wants one more drink, one more drink. And he looks around and finds a really capable transmedium that's not managing their transmediumship space.
Yes.
And he goes, that one, whop, and just plops right in there.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. And our listeners and watchers, if we've never really talked about this on the podcast, where, we've talked about like channeling, where when we channel, like some people will allow a spirit to take over their body and speak. Now, that's not something I've ever done because I don't want to. I don't think. Maybe someday
I have.
But and maybe I have done it and I don't know, but something it makes me think of is like I'm losing my train of thought, Julia. This is why I need Misty sometimes. I get like all confused. And listeners and watchers, Misty is not here today, but she will be making more podcasts soon. She's been having a lot of stuff to do.
You
And
got mom duty.
she's got mom duties and grandma duties too. And at least she's got a granddaughter who's a baby, so it's actually duties.
Oh, wow.
She's still in diapers, so she's so cute. But then I went off on a tangent. I can't remember what I was going to say. So
Well, the thing we started talking about was misconceptions about psychic,
that's
what
what we were
that
talking about. We
means.
were going to do this podcast on. Yeah, misconceptions about psychic, like everything. And I think at first we were talking about like I think the biggest misconception, like you had said, is when people hear the word and they're kind of like, maybe they'll, like you had said, let's see, we're all psychic. And they'll be like, well, I'm not psychic. I'm just
Yeah.
sensitive, you had said intuitive or something like that. But maybe people like that just haven't listened to all the podcasts or all of the podcasts about psychic abilities because everybody says we all can do this. Everyone who's come on this podcast who is or isn't an energy worker pretty much has said, yes, we can all do this. Especially the scientists, that surprised me.
I did take a couple years of transmediumship study, and I've done channeling in a very controlled situation with teachers and room controls. And that's kind of a key, is the room control. So we're talking about today about psychic abilities. And so you're at this site, we're all psychic, right? And you're going, I wonder if I am. I think I am, but I don't see colors around people. I don't see colors around people either, but I know it, and I didn't grow up as a kid going, I'm psychic. I see the dead person over here. I'm psychic. I know what day grandma is going to do this, or she's going to wear the red apron on Friday. I didn't see all that. And I did develop this, but I would say I was psychic to start with, in that I was intuitive, I was really sensitive, I was picking up things on an emotional, energetic feeling level. So that's your clairsentience, where you feel energy, right? And that's usually the first ability to turn on, is the feeling nature. But you don't
Yeah.
want to stay there, because that's where people get overburdened. You think like a massage therapist or a nurse or somatic healer or something, you're working with people all day. And if you have your hands on and those hands are active and you're sensitive and you're intuitive, you're psychic, you're picking up that energy, but you want to be careful not to get overloaded. So there's tools, there's techniques for all of that. I had
Yes.
no idea. I mean, I just started pursuing spiritual stuff. And this was in the 80s and 90s, was like self-help books started coming out. And I think I was fascinated by ESP as a kid. And I just thought, well,
I was
it's just
too.
a matter of fact, isn't it?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
telekinesis, and I was fascinated by telekinesis, and I was also fascinated by Firestarter, the book, and I wanted to be able to do that.
Yeah, some of the abilities are more helpful than others. Like
Pyrokinesis.
if you go around starting fires, that's a little less helpful than maybe being able
I
to
mean, I
guide.
lose my lighter a lot though, and I have a lot of candles, so it could come in
You just
handy.
want to like flame on.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, you're right. Have a whole bunch of them.
So for the listener, if you're learning new terms, pyrokinesis. So telekinesis is moving objects with your mind. Um,
We've only
uh,
had one podcast guest say she did that. She bent spoons. She didn't
yeah,
do it on the podcast, but she just mentioned it in her story. So I thought that was
yeah.
interesting.
There used to be classes at BPI, on that Berkeley Psychic Institute.
That's
There
where
was
she
a
went.
class.
That's where
Yeah,
she
they taught a class on that. You just technique, you do this, do that, and then have your energy here, and then do that, and then spoon bends. But there's some funny stories about that too, where um, a woman was bending a fork, like a fork with your salad, but she had it in her mind, I'm bending the forks, and ended up bending the forks on her car. and it costs just tons of damage. And I have a feeling they stopped doing classes pretty shortly after there, but I wasn't there. That's secondhand information. But
That's a good story. Oh my gosh, that's
I
great.
think it was popular at the time, so they
Psychic
were,
education goes wrong.
yeah. But to the topic of, like you were saying too, you didn't think you were psychic as a kid, but you were
No,
intuitive, and
I wanted to be psychic. I wanted to so bad. I
did
read
you?
in middle school, I would read Sylvia Brown books and it's like, and
Oh,
like when I got into high school, I started reading more advanced divination books, stuff like that, but mainly about palmistry because that was my main interest then.
hmm,
But I thought it was because, there's lines on your palms. Now, I had a friend who read my palm in my 20s and she said, I don't read palms. She said, I just do it through clairsentience, but I
hmm,
look at your palm and I get it. But she read my palms the same way I would have read them with the lines. So, at that time I was more working with cards and kind of still on the fence if this was really happening or not, or if it was just me being like in my subconscious or unconscious, just knowing things and pulling it out that I already
yeah,
picked up on by being observant, which is psychic.
yeah,
I mean, all our senses picking everything up and making something out of it that is there. We're
yeah,
not making something out of it that isn't there. We're making something, with all these senses mixing up our own senses and our psychic senses all together. They all create this kind of like personality experience,
And the thing I didn't know that I had to learn was that there's tools for
Yes.
opening your abilities. And the trick is
Yes.
too that I thought, oh, I can't see. And in the first like 6 months of clairvoyant training, I thought, I don't see, I'm the dunce in the class. But it was because I had a lot of stuff in the way,
What did you
energy
have in the
flow.
way?
Oh, things like, if you're a change maker, someone that likes to come in when there's times of great change, not everybody loves that.
Yeah.
And so you might get a couple of pie in the face kind of things or mud on the windshield kind of energies.
Yeah.
So some different things like that. And just learning to see them and learning how to clear those off. And then it was like all of a sudden one day, oh, I see a suitcase. Are you going on a trip? Yes, I am. I'm like, oh, I saw that.
Woo! Yeah. And it does
and
happen like that. It does. And you just keep doing it. You keep practicing it.
and that
Anyone
was in the
can do it.
90s. And I've been in training since then to today. My teacher passed away last October. But his wife keeps the classes going. And so I like being in the group energy and get a good tune up and clean out. So I'm still in the group and still in training.
Yeah.
So it's like the more you learn, the more there is to see, the more is to know, and then the
More
more
and more.
layers and levels. And it's like, it's so fascinating.
It truly is. It's infinite, and I love it. I love all of it. Well, a recent guest, I think I've repeated it several times. We had recent guest was just like in life, it just doesn't get any better than doing this. There's nothing else that's as exciting as exploring the mysteries and the psychic senses and all
Don't
the.
you feel that way? I do.
Yes, I said that. I was like, oh, that's why I keep repeating it because I'm like, look, that
Yeah.
what she said.
Yeah. I
So
do
yeah,
because everybody I read, I learn about them, but I learn about me and I learn about all of us. And you might see where one person has this limitation or this thing like, oh, I just can't stand it when people do this. And like, oh, that's just the worst thing in the world. I can't stand that. And somebody else will be like, oh, I don't mind that at all. But this other thing, oh, I can't stand it when that happens. And the other person will go, oh, yeah, that doesn't bother me at all. You know,
yeah, yeah,
so it's just so fascinating. We all have our sort of Achilles heel, or maybe it's just the curriculum we came in to work in this lifetime.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
it seems a little more like in our face sometimes. There's that angry male again. How do I deal with that, or whatever,
yeah.
whatever our own.
It is. That's an interesting thing, listeners. Now, if you think about your life and all the people are there themes around your life that you keep seeing repeated in the people around you and for you? Do you notice that? This is one of the first things I started noticing about energy is how I would what you attract what you are like. It's not like magnets, for me anyway. I attract what I'm thinking about, what I'm feeling, what my energy is at, and I'll attract people like that or energies like that and entities like that,
Mm.
spiritual entities. Like if I were to get drunk, one of those spiritual entities might say, Lisa's had too much. Let's get in there. But that, as far as I know, we were talking about this, listeners and watchers. I have never had any, as far as I know, I've never channeled like where someone comes in and takes over the body. But have you done that, Julia? Have you ever
I
channeled
do
like
channel. Yeah.
you
I
do
don't
channel? Oh,
drink, but I do channel.
you
Yes.
channel. Okay.
I don't drink or drug. I prefer, I get plenty of entertainment with just reading,
He gets the
being a
spirits without the
clairvoyant
spirits. Yeah.
and teaching. My favorite thing is teaching others. But yeah, I took about a year and a half, 2 years or something of trans channel class, so transmedium class. And for example, this was in the heyday of these classes, and we had the whole building was like there'd be a clairvoyant class downstairs, and then maybe a reading over here in this room, and then be like a Kundalini class over here, and then the office in the back, and there'd be a house control, and then like a floor control, and then room controls. So it was very articulated, very like picture perfect. The room controls are key if you're channeling. If you don't have a room control, then all kinds of
What is a
things.
room control exactly? What do
It's
you
a
mean?
person that keeps the room grounded and they can
Grounded.
help you bring in the right being and not somebody that shows up and says, "Hey, I'm Jesus, bring me." And that's not anywhere close to Jesus. They're just telling you they're Jesus.
His name just happens to be Jesus.
Oh no, they're just
Yeah.
telling you a flat out lie. There's a
Yeah.
lot of posers. So that
Yeah.
would be like downstairs, and then upstairs we had the transmedium room. We have maybe 30 people in there, and we split off into different groups, maybe about 5 or 6 groups, lines. And so you'd have a line of readers. And this would be, I'd be there for like 2.5 hours, 3 nights a week for training, typically. Um, you'd be in there, you'd have a center chair that's the person that channels. And then you
Yeah.
have a room control that's out of trance, managing the energy. Because as soon as you start channeling and ramping up your energy, that's got to be a really managed space. With the
Yeah.
topic tonight of like, are you psychic, and common misconceptions about psychic, the channeling thing, there is natural channeling. It's a smaller amount of people that do a really good channeling. There's a larger amount of people that are channeling something other than what they think they are. So, like in
Mm.
this training, for example, we had, the room control is making sure there's a room control upstairs, and then there's a control for each line. So they're standing behind the person channeling, really keeping it clear. And the being doesn't come all the way in. They come into a certain amount. There's a lot of agreements. They have to like, okay, sign on the dotted line. You're going to come in. You got to agree to this, okay? So there's a lot of steps
Okay.
there to make it
Yeah.
really safe for everybody.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It was really
That's
fun.
fabulous. Yeah. I like listeners and watchers. I've never, I mean, I don't, I would sometimes they might say I channel my guides, but I'm not really, I just repeat what they say. But
That's channeling.
I'm so involved, like in, like, because they don't say it. I don't know, listeners and watchers, like when I speak with my spirit guys, I don't talk. They don't talk. I just know what they're saying, and I see them in my mind's eye, and I just know what they're trying to tell me. Sometimes they'll act it out, like I can see them like talking and moving, but it's all in my brain. Like I'm imagining it, but there I can see it too in my mind's eye, and I know it's like it just happens when I'm not thinking about it. Sometimes, and sometimes I'll be like, "Hey Sam, can you help me with blah blah blah?" Or what do you think about blah blah blah? And he'll just be like, it happens like that.
Is Sam a being?
Sam's one of my spirit guys, my main
Your
spirit
guide?
guy,
Okay.
and he'll just like that. It all happens in my head, and then I can turn to someone else and be like, blah blah. Well, Sam says blah
Yeah.
blah blah, and he was doing this, and for me, it takes like a maybe a split second to get that information from him and see it and everything, and
Yeah.
then to translate it to someone takes
That
like
takes a while, doesn't
minutes.
it?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a while. Yeah,
Yeah.
different,
Yeah. Same
but
thing. So you're using claircognizance. So seventh chakra of just knowing, where you just know things, and clairvoyance, where you're seeing things, you saw the animation. And then it does take a while, because spirit, I find, will give me an answer like that. Like,
yes,
yeah, no,
yeah.
go there. It's not a diatribe. It's never a diatribe.
No,
Like,
it's
I'm
not.
going to give you the whole story about why this answer is so forth. It's just like boom.
Yeah,
And then as a reader, like you said, you take 20 minutes to explain that.
yeah.
One quick little download that came
It's
in.
weird. It's
Yeah.
like a dream. People say our
Yeah.
dreams, it feels like you're living 5 lifetimes in some dreams, and you wake up and you've only been asleep for 3 minutes or something, and you're, oh, I want to go back to my dream. I haven't had enough sleep, but it's still, It's just really strange how like dreams are very similar to that information, that psychic information coming in. And dreams are a big, very big entryway into, for a lot of people, into their psychic abilities, right?
Yeah, it's
Um,
really true. It's like a practice space for if you can
good
wake up in the
point.
dream, you can wake up in this bigger dream.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. If you can wake up in that dream, you can wake up in this bigger dream. That's beautiful. I love that.
I
Trying to think
remember
of,
one time I wanted to practice in the astral space, dream space a little more. And I was playing a lot of marimba at the time. And I thought, hey, I want to get a marimba lesson from this famous guy in New York. And so I just kind of said that out loud before I went to bed. And sure enough, I could see it. I'm like, it's a New York apartment, and the instrument was downstairs and it was set up in L. There was a vibes here, and the marimba here. And he showed me this thing in E major. And it was like, I got the whole thing. And then I woke up in the morning and I played it. It was just a short little
you
snippet, but
got
it was
a
like,
lesson, a
I got a
spiritual
lesson
dream
from
lesson
this
from another.
famous dude for
So
free.
cool. Yeah.
I didn't have to
Maybe you're
fly
a
to New
famous
York.
dude.
I didn't have to fly to New York, get a
Yeah,
hotel,
I know,
get
do all
a
that
lesson.
stuff. It's like all right there. That's really amazing. I love that. That's just a fascinating story. I love that. It is so true. We can ask. I often ask my guides and or angels or whatever God, whatever's around, whatever I feel like asking, help me remember my dreams because I've been working on getting them back. But I shut them all down because I was having night terrors, and I figured that out. But then the dreams
Oh,
never came back, which was fine with me because I don't have good dreams. They're
mhm.
all usually really like they're not bad, they're just stress dreams. Like I would have dreams about kittens being like hanging from cliffs, and I have to go
About
rescue the
what?
kitten, like
Oh,
kittens
yeah.
mainly. The
Hmm.
stress dreams about cats and my cats and kittens. I don't know why, but I like they're like falling off cliffs, or there's very strange situations with these kittens, and situations where like we're in a volcano and I'm going across a bridge and there's a kittens falling off the bridge, and I have to save all the kittens falling off and so they don't go in the lava. And it's stressful, because I don't get all the kittens.
There are some beings, spirit beings that show up and they can kind of mimic cats and dogs. Like if you really like cats, they can show up looking like cats. If people really like dogs, they can show up looking like dogs, but they're kind of troublemakers.
What are they?
Um, that's a different kind of being that comes around, and when they come around, it usually tries to split people up, and a person might feel like, oh, I'll never get there, or less than, or upset or angry about things out of character.
How can you tell
Uh,
the difference
tell the difference in the beings.
between, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes you'll see them as just like a big eyeball staring at you.
Wow.
And if you zoom out, you can see, oh, it kind of looks like a worm or a snake or something. Those are another type of being
Okay,
that
okay.
are just troublemakers. Yeah.
I'll remember that. Yeah, that's interesting. Trying to think. I mean, I've taken in cats that there were a little, something different about them, and there was fighting and stuff. But in that household that I'm thinking of, there was always fighting.
Well, you
So,
could tell by the kittens if you look in their eyes, there's like nobody home. There's
oh,
no
I've never seen
awareness.
that. I've never
There's
seen
no
that. Yeah.
awareness. So check out their eyes. If they
Okay.
look back at you and they're communicating, then that's a cat.
Okay, I got you. I
Like
understand what
when
you're
my
saying.
last cat died, and that night I had this really vivid dream of her, and she was like all animated, and her eyes were really big, and we had all this telepathic
Um,
communication, and this dream where we're flying, and she puts her paw down on my foot, which is on an accelerator on a like a, I don't know, I was in a tire, just sitting in a tire, but there was an accelerator. She pushes it down like, let's go faster. That was really fun. But that was definitely her. She was very animated, and her eyes were clear, and it was just all this love and
I love
communication.
that.
It was
I
really
love
beautiful.
that. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. I think of like other psychic misconceptions. Like I think I'm trying to think of probably the biggest one I think is that it's against God's purpose because it's like absolutely not. you know, you know what I'm saying?
Um,
Like some
yeah,
people believe, but that's a religious belief, I think. I don't know if that would be anything other than a religious belief. Unless
yeah.
somebody just doesn't like the idea that people could read their mind, but nobody, I mean, I don't know anyone who can read my mind, but you can kind of pick up, like telepaths can kind of pick up what people are, what's on their mind, not word for word. Say maybe some can, I can't, but
So, so how did people know that Jesus was going to be born in a specific place?
prophets,
How did these kings know to
yeah,
travel for days and weeks to get
frankincense and
there at a
myrrh.
certain to get to a certain location, a certain time for this being coming in? How did they know that? How did so many know that?
Yeah, I mean, a
Um,
star in the sky is not going to lead you straight to the baby Jesus,
how do you know to follow
straight to
that
him,
star, and how do you know what's going to be at the other end? They're just
Yeah,
using their intuitive abilities. It's
you're
natural,
right.
it's built in. So
You're
then we have
absolutely,
to look at who doesn't want that to be known or seen.
yeah, yeah,
But
that's
it's
true.
natural. It's all our natural. But the thing is, for everybody listening too, that your abilities are waking up right now, big time. They're
Yeah,
they're really starting to pop. And so intuitive abilities, being able to feel energy, it can be overwhelming if you don't know how to manage it yet. And intuitive, what if you get an intuitive hit, your friend's going to get hurt or something? Like, what do I do with that information?
yeah,
Well, you have to look at the lesson for that soul. Why
yes,
you're getting that particular set of intuitive download? What's the purpose for you? Not so much for the other person. Maybe you help them, maybe you don't. Maybe they're learning about healing or trusting your
yeah.
awareness or whatever. But yeah, abilities are really waking up big
They
time
are
right now.
everywhere, everywhere. I love it.
And it's just
Um,
a natural part of our growth and our awakening of consciousness that the earth and all of humanity are going through. And we
I
see it
think
through
so too.
chaos first, and then, the rebirth out of that. So
Yes,
it's an exciting time to
it
be
is
in.
an exciting time. I've been told by past life readers that I've been through a lot of plagues in past lives relating to this life. I've been in all these plagues, and COVID happened in this life. I thought
Oh yeah,
that was really weird
you
that
don't
I've
want to
been in all
miss
these
one.
plagues.
You don't
Why
want
do
to
I
miss
know?
one.
Yeah. I didn't want to miss it. That's right. It's exciting.
Check that off my list. Yep,
Yeah,
I lived through
COVID
that one too.
year, COVID pandemic. Did
Yeah.
that one. Got sick. Check.
Well, where are healers needed?
Yes, true. Very true. Where the people are sick and the cats are healing the people. And the dogs are healing the people. This is kind of interesting. In 2018, when my cat Morgana died and her spirit came and started working with me. And I was like, is this happening? And I was like, yeah. Okay. And I talked to a lot of people, and their animals were all starting to do that. Passed on animals, not like a few people that I talked to that I talked about Morgana on like social media or something, and they came to me and they're like, "My dog died or my cat died," and I'm hearing this, you know. And I think one of the people I talked with about that had said that she thought that the animals were evolving, and I was like, "No, I think they're here to help us because that's what they told me. Like they're here to help us get through something."
Yeah,
Right now, they're all being different, like than they used to be. They're acting differently, and they're being more engaging with us than they would be maybe 15 years ago in some ways, if you know what I mean. If you really pay attention to I'm an animal lover, and I just
yeah,
adore my cats, and I watch them. I think about them a lot, and I analyze what they do and stuff,
yeah,
and try to figure them out. And I think a lot of people have noticed like maybe does have to do with COVID, that shut down time 2021 when we were all being stuck inside a lot, and we bonded with our animals more, and our animals started being like, okay, they're paying attention, let's start showing them stuff. And it's like, so sometimes I'll have readings where people will be like, why does my cat stare at this corner in my room, stuff like
yes,
that.
yeah,
And yeah, I kind of have to ask one of my guides, what do you think? And it's usually the cat's just letting them know grandpa's there or something,
yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that, which maybe the cat
It's
might not have done 6 years ago, 8 years ago or something.
right. Well, there's a lot of things there. And animals are from a different kingdom, so we don't go like, I'm a human now, I'm going to be a cat next time, and then I'm going to be,
Don't be a
something
cat.
else. They they might go to a deer or something, but it's going to be in the animal realm. But they're more like here to help us and show
Yeah.
us love and healing,
Yes.
just unconditional love
Yes.
and healing. So they're totally here to help us,
They
guide
are.
us.
And they choose to, is what I get the impression of.
Yeah.
You know,
And during the pandemic, it's supposed to be part of it, a time to go inward,
it
where
was,
you
yeah.
shut off everything else and everybody got a cat and a dog. And yeah, we shut off a lot of stuff on the outside. I got to go to that party. I got to go to that event. I got to go to work. You can't do any of that. You got to stay
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so yeah, that just made it a right field for that. But if you're listening too and you're interested in upping your communication, working your psychic skills for yourself, think about with your animal, your cat or dog or horse or whatever, create a visual image of what you do want really clearly in your mind. The words will follow, but they'll follow your picture. So if you do want them to jump, say you don't want them to jump on the couch, don't show them a picture of jumping on the couch and say don't jump on the couch. You need to show them a picture of sitting quietly at the foot of the couch.
That's
you
really
know, so you
smart. Yeah. I didn't think
you
about
have
that,
to
but that's
create,
right.
because they'll follow your picture. They don't know Chinese or Russian or English or Swahili, any better.
I have an argument about that. I think my cats know every single word I say.
They're reading the pictures,
Dogs do too. Yeah, they
and
might be reading the pictures of my work.
psychics have great pictures.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
put out
We're all
really
psychic
good
and we all have these
pictures.
great imaginations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's the biggest psychic misconception I can think of is that the imagination is not just this piece of something useless junk. The imagination is the reason we can do any of this stuff. I think it's the imagination is the way to the energy work, to working with your psychic senses. So if you can imagine something, is probably able to recreate it in some way. And if you can't recreate it in the world, you can go into a VR headset and make it, or you can make an AI video of it. I just made
It's a
my first, I'm
different,
still excited about it, Julia. Listeners and watchers, I just made my first AI video and I thought it was pretty exciting. It's like 7 seconds long.
you're very, very techy.
I love that stuff. Yeah, that's insane.
Gonna say
To me,
something
that's a
about it.
misconception, that it's just I think another one is that's just as important is that psychic people working with the energy and who have worked with it and developed it really highly skilled, or if you would call them that or whatever, they aren't gods. They're you. They're people. They're just regular people, just like you, and you can do anything they're doing just about. Now, some people believe on the podcast that we're born with proclivities to certain skills and stuff because of our genetics and stuff like that. Some people have talked about that. I don't know. I'm interested in all that stuff because it makes
Mhm.
sense. I know, like, I don't know. I just but the misconception being that you know because you have like, say, Slavic ancestry, you can be, a fortune teller, or you can do some kind of skill from that area, or something like that. Um, I don't think that's, I think that's kind of a misconception too, because I think you can just kind of imagine it however you want it to work, and if you want it to work that way, I think it will. You just have it. We just all have it, but we don't want it to just be innately ours. I think that's the big misconception. It is ours. It's yours. Your psychic sense is yours. My psychic sense is mine. Or, our juju or energy. And it's not like, and it's all connected. We don't have to talk about that. That's a personal opinion. But
We
I
are
think
all
the
connected.
misconception is that like every single person who really has worked up and gotten better at, maybe they are the Michael Jordan of psychics. They had a natural skill and they got like and they did something with it. But they're still just people. I mean, they're not to be like worshipped. And I know some people who are into this stuff like want to be kind of worshipped. You know what I mean? Have you met people like that? I haven't on the podcast. I've never had
Not
anyone on the
really.
podcast I felt that way about.
Uh-huh.
But when I'm out and about and I get readings from random people and stuff, sometimes I do come across that. They want to
I'm
control.
very
And
particular about getting a reading from somebody. I prefer to get a reading from somebody in my group because they know how to
yeah,
manage their own space, not program somebody and not,
exactly. They're
just do
not
it
doing it to program people.
do it real
That's what I was saying
clean.
is a misconception. When people think a psychic is above them, that's a misconception. They're not above anyone. No one's above anyone, I don't think. But especially that,
I think we have to look at what is that soul working on? What is their curriculum this
Yeah.
lifetime? You know, um, like learning an instrument. Anybody can learn an instrument, but some people are really great at it. And
Yeah.
that's their life skill, is to maybe be that star of stage and screen. But that's one curriculum. Their teacher is another curriculum.
Yeah.
The person that helped guide them to be that, because they've already done that. If not this life, another.
Yeah.
And then the people in the audience, they have another curriculum, and maybe somebody that aspires to be that. There's all kinds of levels. So
True.
with psychic stuff, it's built in. You can work on it like anything. You want to be good at hitting tennis or golf, you work at it. Some people pick up a racket and they just fly.
Yeah.
Some people have to do it 1,000 times to get it right. So it just depends on what's your curriculum to work on this time. For me, I'm here to teach.
Yes.
So I had to
And
clear out
listeners
all
and
my own
watchers,
space
I think
first.
I think I think what she means by what you were saying you're here for, isn't that what you just said? Or how did you put it? How did you phrase that?
Oh, I'm here to
Curriculum,
teach.
your
Yeah,
curriculum.
your curriculum.
Your
Yeah,
curriculum for life.
yeah.
So
What's your purpose? Your
yeah,
your
what's your
your
purpose?
life.
What are you here
Uh,
for? I still don't know. I haven't figured it out. I have a few things I know I'm here for. I think I've completed a couple of them, but I don't know. And I don't have much motivation to get stuff done.
It could be as simple for somebody as, last time I didn't have permission to use my psychic skills. This time I have so much permission I can get on the airwaves and just belt it from the sky
Well, I have been told that in
every
past
week.
readings that I was always speaking out about I can read minds or whatever they tell me, something
You
psychic
might have got
babbling about as a
slammed
kid.
last time for trying to be psychic, and people went, "Nope, nope, we're not
That's what
having
I've been
that.
told over and
We're
over
gonna
and over again relating to
put
this
you
life.
we're going to
Yeah.
lock you in a closet so you don't infect anybody with that psychic stuff." And now you got full
In
permission.
fact. In fact.
They're like, and lock up that nutcase before she infects the others and tells them
Put them
they
in the
can do it
asylum.
too. They will have all these free people walking around. Oh no.
Not that. Not that. Anything but that. And with that, Julia, where can listeners? I have all your information, but for someone who does not know you as a regular guest, where can people find you?
Go to my website, juliaharrell.com. There's some offerings there, classes, you get a reading, healing package, online courses. I'll have a membership coming up soon. So
You have like free meditations on there and stuff, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
did,
Start,
yeah.
Sign up, you'll get the newsletters and stuff. I'm building this cool little mini course with a quiz on your psychic powers. What are your psychic
Oh,
abilities?
I love that. Send it to me. I'll get on
I'm
your.
I'm
I think I
working
am
on
on
it.
your mailing list.
It's done, but it doesn't work right yet. So I got to fine tune
Work
it.
it.
But I want it to be fun.
Oh
And
my gosh, that's so cool. Let me know
learn
when that's
tools.
on there. I will definitely play with that.
Okay.
And I guess I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app and website, everclear.com, where you can get advice from psychics and empaths so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. And I am an advisor on Everclear under the name Lisa P, Leesap, letter P. And lastly, I'll ask you for some advice. We kind of, we've done a few different topics, but mainly anyone who's listening to this, they just popped into this podcast. First one they've listened to them, we're all psychic, and I'm like, well, I don't know, a lot was thrown at me. I will think about some of this stuff. What would, of all the things we've talked about, where do you think they should start?
If you're building your intuition, the first thing that opens up normally is your feeling. But did you know that the sense of knowingness, that's the feeling, is the second chakra function, but your knowingness is the seventh chakra. That's more comprehensive, it's more inclusive. That's the go-to. So if you're building your intuition, you go, oh, I'm gonna base it on my feeling. That's a lower vibration level. Go with your head. Go with your knowingness. What do you just know about it, and learn to start trusting that.
Yeah, that's great advice from me too. Thank you. That's really freaking great advice. And with that, listeners, Julia drops the mic. Boom. And I love it, Julia. Thank you for coming on as always. And I want you back soon because we have lots of stuff to talk about still.
It's
She might be
always
coming
a
to visit me in
pleasure.
Nashville.
Who knows?
Let's hope it happens. I'd love it. And
Always
listeners
a
and watchers,
pleasure.
always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to see Julia. And listeners and watchers, love you. Peace out. Bye.
And in scene.